The massive command bridge of the Cretan Empire's flagship hummed with activity. Admiral Vex stood at the center, his forearms crossed behind his back as he watched the tactical display. The Cretan Empire had conquered 300 star systems. In the last millennium, no species had ever posed a real threat to their dominance. "Admiral, we're detecting an unknown vessel approaching our border," reported Commander Zack from the sensor station. His voice carried the typical arrogance of a Cretan officer who had never known defeat. "Size and armament?" Vex asked, not bothering to turn from the display. "It's single quotes S. Strange, sir. The ship is only 300 meters long. Minimal energy signatures. It appears to be a scout vessel from the new species we discovered last cycle. The ones who call themselves humans." Vex's mandibles clicked in amusement. The humans had been discovered only recently, confined to a single star system with primitive faster-than-light technology. They were scheduled for conquest within the next rotation. "Send 3 destroyers to intercept. Show these primitives the might of the Cretan Empire," Vex ordered. The 3 destroyers, each over a kilometer long and bristling with plasma cannons, moved to surround the small human vessel. Captain Rex commanded the lead destroyer, eager for an easy victory to add to his record. "Human vessel, this is Captain Rex of the Cretan Empire. You have entered restricted space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed," he transmitted. The response came in accented but clear Cretan language. "This is Captain James of the Earthship Persistence. We're on a diplomatic mission. We mean no harm." Rex laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through his bridge. "Diplomatic? You bring one tiny ship to negotiate with the Empire? Prepare your crew for slavery, human." "I really wish you hadn't said that," Captain James replied, his voice carrying an odd tone of resignation. Rex ordered his weapons officer to fire a warning shot. The plasma bolt streaked through space, passing meters from the human ship's hull. The Persistence didn't move, didn't return fire, didn't even raise shields. "Last chance, human. Surrender or die." There was a long pause. Then Captain James spoke again. "Computer, cancel diplomatic protocols. Authorization, James Alpha 7. The change was instantaneous. Where before the human ship had seemed dormant, suddenly every sensor on Rex's destroyer screamed warnings. Energy readings spiked to impossible levels. The small human ship's hull began to shimmer and shift. "What's happening?" Rex demanded. "Sir, I don't understand these readings. The human ship is generating more power than a star. It's impossible for something that size." The Persistence began to move, not like any ship Rex had ever seen. It didn't accelerate. It simply was in one place, then another, leaving afterimages in space. In seconds, it had positioned itself between all 3 destroyers. "Fire! Fire everything!" Rex screamed. Hundreds of plasma bolts and missiles launched at the human ship. They hit something, but not the ship itself. A barely visible field surrounded the Persistence, and every weapon simply ceased to exist when it touched the barrier. Then, the human ship responded. 3 beams of pure white light lanced out, one for each destroyer. They weren't like any weapon the Cretan knew. The beams didn't burn or explode. They simply deleted sections of the destroyers from existence. Rex watched in horror as the rear third of his ship simply vanished, as if it had never been built. "Admiral." "Vex," Rex transmitted desperately. "The human ship. It's not what we thought. We need the entire fleet." "We need?" The transmission cut off. On the flagship's bridge, Admiral Vex watched in stunned silence as 3 of his destroyers were reduced to drifting hulks in less than 10 seconds. The human ship hadn't even moved from its position. A new transmission came through, audio only. Captain James's voice was calm, almost apologetic. "Admiral Vex of the Cretan Empire. I tried to come in peace. This ship is humanity's answer to species. Like yours, those who see our kindness as weakness. We've been watching you for longer than you know. This is your only warning. Leave human space alone, or learn why we only needed to send one ship. The transmission ended. The Persistence turned and vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind 3 crippled destroyers and an empire that had just learned the taste of fear. Asterisk, the great war chamber of the Cretan Empire had not seen such chaos in 500 years. Representatives from every conquered world had been summoned, their holographic forms filling the massive amphitheater. At the center, Emperor Drax himself sat on his throne of black crystal, his ancient eyes studying the recording of the human. Ship's attack for the 100th time. Silence. Drax commanded, his voice amplified across the chamber. The arguing voices of 1,000 administrators and generals fell quiet. Admiral Vex explained to me how 3 of our destroyers were crippled by a single primitive vessel. Vex stood before the throne, his posture rigid with military discipline, despite the shame burning within him. Emperor, the human ship was not primitive. It was ... something else. Our scientists have analyzed the sensor data. The technology they displayed shouldn't exist. Elaborate, Drax ordered. Chief Scientist Cora stepped forward, her datapad trembling in her claws. Emperor, the energy readings we detected from the human ship exceed our theoretical maximums. By a factor of 10,000. The weapon they used appears to manipulate fundamental forces we don't understand. It didn't destroy our ships. It selectively deleted portions of them from existence. That's impossible, General Thor interjected from his position among the military council. No species develops such technology without us detecting it. The humans have only had spaceflight for less than 200 of their years. And yet, the evidence is undeniable, Cora replied. She activated a holographic display showing the human ship. Look at the hull composition. Our scans show materials that shouldn't be stable in normal space. The power source registers as a controlled singularity, but one that operates on principles we can't comprehend. Emperor Drax leaned forward on his throne. You're telling me these humans, who we dismissed as barely worth conquering, possess technology beyond our understanding? It's worse than that, Emperor, Admiral Vex said quietly. The human captain said they've been watching us. He said this. Ship was their answer to species like us. That implies that they built it specifically to fight us, Drax finished. The implications sent a ripple of unease through the chamber. General Thor stood, his warrior's pride refusing to accept defeat. One ship, no matter how advanced, cannot stop the Empire. I propose we send the entire Third Fleet. 500 ships will overwhelm any technology. And if they have more than one such ship? Vex asked. The question hung in the air like a poison. Cloud. The Empire had conquered hundreds of species, but always through superior numbers and firepower. They had never faced a technological disadvantage. We need intelligence, Drax decided. Send spy probes to human space. Avoid direct confrontation until we understand what we're facing. Over the following weeks, dozens of stealth probes entered human territory. What they found defied belief. Earth, the human homeworld, appeared normal enough. A blue-green planet with primitive cities and billions of inhabitants. But the space around it was wrong. The probes detected spatial distortions. That suggested massive objects, but nothing appeared on visual scans. Energy signatures flickered in and out of existence. Most disturbing of all, several probes simply stopped transmitting when they got too close to Earth, as if they had never existed. They're hiding something, Admiral Vex reported to the Emperor. The entire solar system is wrapped in some kind of concealment field. We can see what they want us to see, nothing more. Have any probes returned useful intelligence? Drax demanded. One, Emperor. It detected a conversation between two human military officers before it was discovered and destroyed. Vex activated the audio file. The first voice was casual, almost bored. Another Creighton probe near Saturn. That's the 5/10th this week, the second voice replied. Should we let this one see the shipyards? No. Command says keep them guessing. Let them think we only have the one ship. Seems cruel, really. They have no idea what's coming if they attack. That's the point. Maybe they'll be smart and leave us alone. The recording ended with static. The war chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans had detected every probe. They had shipyards. Hidden somewhere. They were letting the Empire see only what they wanted. Emperor Drax stood from his throne, his decision made. Double our border defenses. Send envoys to attempt peaceful contact. And begin researching their technology with every resource we have. And if they attack, Emperor? General Thor asked. Drax looked at the image of the small human ship that had humiliated his fleet. Then we learn what it means to be on the other side of conquest. Captain James stood on the observation deck of the Persistence, looking out at the star-filled void that marked the border between human and Creighton space. 3 months had passed since the first encounter, and the Empire had been surprisingly quiet. But James knew better than to mistake silence for peace. Captain, incoming transmission from command, Lieutenant Brown announced. Put it through to my ready room, James ordered. The face of Admiral Wilson appeared on the screen, her expression grave. James, the situation has changed. The Creighton Emperor has sent an official diplomatic envoy. They're requesting permission to enter human space. Trap? James asked. Possibly. But intelligence suggests they're genuinely frightened. They've been trying to reverse engineer the technology you displayed. They've had 0 success. James smiled grimly. They can't reverse engineer what they can't understand. Dimensional. Phase technology is at least 1,000 years beyond them. The President has decided to receive their envoy, Wilson continued. But not on Earth. We'll meet them at Outpost 7. I want you there with the Persistence, but you'll have backup. How much backup? Wilson's smile was predatory. Let's just say it's time to show a bit more of our hand. 3 days later, Outpost 7. To all appearances a simple research station, orbiting a dead moon, prepared to receive the Creighton delegation. Ambassador Yar arrived in a diplomatic cruiser, accompanied by a small escort fleet that waited nervously at the system's edge. Yar was old, even for a Creighton, his scales dulled with age, but his mind sharp. He had served the Empire for 3 centuries, and had negotiated the surrender of dozens of species. This time felt different. The human who greeted him was Ambassador David, a middle-aged man with graying hair and kind eyes. Welcome to human space, Ambassador Yar. I hope we can reach an understanding. Ambassador David, Yar replied carefully. I come with the full authority of Emperor Drax to discuss terms. Terms? David asked, leading Yar to an observation lounge. We're not at war, Ambassador. No, but your ship's demonstration has concerned the Empire. We seek to understand your intentions. David poured 2 glasses of water, offering one to Yar. Our intentions have always been peaceful. We've watched your empire expand for the past 50 years. We've seen you conquer. Species after species. We hoped you would pass us by. No expanding empire can ignore potential threats, Yar said carefully. And that's the problem, isn't it? David replied. You see everything as either a threat or a resource to be conquered. We offered a different path. One ship, no matter how advanced, cannot stop an empire, Yar probed. David smiled and pressed a button on his desk. You're right. One ship can't. The observation lounge's windows suddenly revealed what had been hidden. Where before there had been empty space, now Hundreds of ships appeared. Not just any ships, each one identical to the Persistence, hanging in perfect formation around the station. Yar's water glass fell from nerveless claws. "We call them the Ghost Fleet," David explained calmly. 400 ships, each one capable of what you saw the Persistence do. They've been here the entire time, phase shifted just outside your perception. 400 ... Yar whispered. And that's just this outpost. We have 12 such fleets stationed throughout human space. We've been preparing for this moment since we first detected your empire. You see, Ambassador, we learned something from our own history. Peace through strength is the only peace that lasts. Yar's mind raced. 400 ships at each outpost. 12 outposts. That was nearly 5,000 ships, each one capable of destroying entire fleets. The Empire's total naval force was only 3 times that, and their technology was apparently useless against these vessels. "Why show me this?" Yar asked finally. "Because we want you to understand something crucial," David said, his voice gentle, but firm. "We don't want war. We don't want to conquer. We don't want your resources or your territory. We just want to be left alone to develop in peace. But if the Empire forces our hand..." David didn't need to finish. The implied threat was clear. "What do you want from us?" Yar asked. "A simple agreement. The Empire recognizes human sovereignty and agrees to no aggression against us or any species under our protection. In return, we share certain technologies, medical, agricultural, peaceful applications only. And we promise not to interfere with the Empire as long as you don't force us to." Yar considered this. It was unprecedented. No species had ever negotiated as equals with the Empire. Emperor Drax stood alone in his private sanctuary, studying the report Ambassador Yar had brought back. The holographic images of the human Ghost Fleet played on repeat, 400 impossible ships hanging in space like a promise of doom. His empire, built over millennia of conquest, suddenly seemed fragile as glass. A soft chime announced a visitor. General Thor entered, his usual warrior's swagger replaced by cautious steps. "Emperor, the War Council awaits your decision." "Tell me, Thor," Drax said without turning. "In all our conquests, have we ever encountered a species we couldn't defeat?" "No." "Emperor, the Empire has always prevailed." "And now?" Thor was silent for a long moment. "The human technology is beyond our understanding. Our best scientists say it would take centuries, perhaps millennia, to match it. They built those ships in less than 50 years, Thor. 50 years from discovering faster-than-light travel to surpassing us completely. What does that tell you? That they are dangerous beyond measure." Drax finally turned to face his general. "Or that we have been fools, measuring strength only in terms of conquest." The War Council convened within. The hour. The great chamber was subdued. None of the usual boasting or aggressive posturing. They had all seen Yar's report. "The humans offer us a treaty," Drax announced. "They ask only to be left alone and offer to share peaceful technologies in return." "It's unprecedented," Administrator Locke objected. "The Empire does not negotiate with lesser species." "Are they lesser?" Drax asked pointedly. "They could destroy us, yet they offer peace. Which of us is truly superior?" General Thor stood. "Emperor, I have served the Empire for 2 centuries. I have led countless conquests. But I tell you now, we cannot win this war if it comes. The humans have prepared for us. They know our tactics, our technology, our weaknesses, and they have surpassed us in ways we don't comprehend. You advocate surrender?" Another general accused. "I advocate survival," Thor replied firmly. "The humans offer us something no conquered species ever could, a future where the Empire continues to exist." Chief Scientist Cora added her voice. The medical technology they've offered to share could extend Cretan lifespans by centuries. Their agricultural methods could end famine on our outer colonies. These are not the gifts of conquerors, but of potential allies. Or it's a trap, Administrator Locke insisted. They wait until we lower our guard, then strike. If they wanted to destroy us, they could do it now, Drax said quietly. Ambassador Yar reports they have 5,000 of those. Ships. Our entire fleet couldn't stop even 100. The debate raged for hours, but Drax had already made his decision. The Empire had grown through conquest, but perhaps it was time for a different kind of growth. 3 days later, a formal transmission was sent to Earth. Emperor Drax himself appeared on the communication, his pride warring with pragmatism. 2. The leaders of humanity, I, Emperor Drax of the Cretan Empire, accept your terms. The Empire recognizes human sovereignty and pledges non-aggression. We will respect your borders and those of any species under your protection. The response came from President Williams herself, an elderly woman with sharp eyes and a steady voice. Emperor Drax, humanity accepts your pledge and offers our hand in friendship. Our representatives will arrive within the week to begin technology transfers. But even as the treaty was formalized, not everyone in the Empire accepted it. In the shadowy depths of a military base on the frontier, a group of Cretan officers met in secret. The Emperor has lost his nerve, Colonel Rex snarled. He had survived the destruction of his destroyer, his hatred for humanity burning bright. We are warriors, not diplomats. The Empire was built on strength, not cowardice. What can we do? Another officer asked. The treaty is signed. Treaties can be broken, Rex replied. We need only create an incident that forces the Empire's hand. Make it look like the humans attacked first. That's treason, someone whispered. No, Rex said firmly. It's patriotism. The Empire must not bow to anyone, especially not primitive apes who hide behind technology they probably stole from some ancient civilization. The conspiracy began to take shape, planning an attack that would shatter the fragile peace. They would strike at a human colony, make it look like an accident, then claim the humans retaliated disproportionately. The Empire would be forced to respond. Treaty or no treaty. Rex smiled in the darkness. The humans might have superior technology, but they were still only human. They could be provoked, manipulated, forced into showing their true nature. And when they did, the Empire would be ready. He was wrong about everything. Asterisk, asterisk. The human colony on New Eden was a peaceful place. Rolling green hills, clear blue lakes, and only 50,000 settlers. It was exactly the kind of soft target Colonel Rex had been looking for. His stealth ship, crewed by 40 conspirators, approached under cloak, weapons charged. Remember, Rex told his crew, we make it look like a pirate raid. No Empire signatures, no traceable weapons. The humans will retaliate against the Empire, and the war will begin. They never saw the persistence until it was too late. Captain James's ship materialized directly in front of them, phase shifting into normal space like a ghost becoming solid. Colonel Rex, James's voice came through their communications. Stand. Down immediately. You are in violation of the treaty between our peoples. Rex's blood ran cold. How did they know? How are they here? I don't know what you mean. Rex tried to bluff. We're on a routine patrol. Colonel, we've been monitoring your conspiracy since the first meeting. Did you really think you could plan an attack on humanity without us knowing? On Rex's screen, dozens of ghost fleet ships began appearing around his vessel. But more disturbing were the images James was transmitting, recordings of every secret meeting, every conspirator's conversation, even Rex's private logs. Impossible, Rex breathed. our security was perfect. Your security was three-dimensional, James replied. We operate in dimensions you haven't discovered yet. We've been watching, hoping you would abandon this foolish plan. But since you haven't, Rex made a desperate decision. All weapons, fire on the colony, maximum destruction. Nothing happened. His weapons were simply gone. Not destroyed, not disabled. They had been deleted from his ship while he wasn't looking. Colonel Rex, you and your conspirators will be returned to the Empire for judgment. But first, there's something you need to see. The view screen changed, showing Earth, but not Earth as the Cretan knew it. The image pulled back, revealing something impossible. Earth existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, each one showing different versions of human development. In one, massive city ships orbited the planet. In another, the entire solar system was enclosed in a gossamer sphere of energy, layer upon layer of reality, all existing in the same space. We've been here for far longer than you know, James explained. Humanity in your dimension is young, yes, but we're connected to versions of ourselves that have existed for millions of years. The technology you fear? It's a gift from our elder selves, insurance against species like yours. Rex's mind reeled. That's impossible. The universe is far stranger than your empire imagines, Colonel. We didn't develop our technology in 50 years. We inherited it from ourselves, from timelines where humanity had to learn the hard way what happens when aggressive empires are left unchecked. The screen shifted to show the Cretan Empire, but overlaid with probability streams. In timeline after timeline, the Empire either destroyed itself in civil war or was conquered by an even more aggressive species. In 90% of probable futures, the Cretan Empire doesn't survive the next 1,000 years, James continued. Unless you change. That's why we offered the treaty. Not out of fear, but out of hope. Hope that your species can evolve beyond conquest. Rex slumped in his command chair, his worldview shattered. Everything he believed about strength, about superiority, about the Empire's destiny, all of it crumbled before the reality of humanity's true nature. Take us home, he whispered. The journey back to Cretan space was silent. Rex and his conspirators were delivered directly to Emperor Drax's throne room, where Captain James himself appeared via hologram to explain what had occurred. Drax listened in stunned silence to the full truth about humanity. When James finished, the Emperor asked only one question. Why tell us this now? Because your species stands at a crossroads, James replied. You can continue down the path of conquest until you meet the fate we've seen in countless timelines. Or you can choose a different path. The technologies we're sharing aren't just gifts. They're tools to help you transform from conquerors into builders, from an empire into a true civilization. And if we refuse, then we continue to watch and protect ourselves. But Emperor, the universe is vast and full of wonders your people haven't imagined. Wouldn't you rather explore it as friends than face it as enemies? Drax looked at Rex, broken and humbled, then at his advisors, all grappling with this new reality. The Empire had learned fear from seeing one human warship. Now they had learned humility from understanding humanity's true nature. We accept. Drax said finally, teach us to be better than we are. And so ended the age of Cretan conquest and began the age of Cretan enlightenment, guided by the species they had once dismissed as primitive. The universe, it turned out, had a sense of irony, asterisk,